all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business. Good morning. You're listening to the Daily Morning Update from Bloomberg Quint, and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 4th of December. Let's start with the top news story. In a statement that sent stock markets in the US plunging, President Donald Trump signaled he would be willing to wait for another year before striking a trade agreement with China, casting doubt on the likelihood of a Phase 1 deal within weeks between Washington and Beijing. Yesterday in London, he told reporters that he had no timeline, and later in a meeting with Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he said that he would not sign a deal unless it is a good one. In fact, he said, and I quote, "It can't be an even deal. If it's an even deal, it's no good," unquote. The Dow Jones Industrial Average initially fell as much as 400 points before recovering somewhat and ending lower by 1%. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq both declined by over 0.5%. Stocks in Asia opened lower as well as uncertainty grows about whether a deal can be struck before the 15th of December deadline for the imposition of additional tariffs by the US on China. Asian indices that are live at this time are all trading with sharp cuts. The Nikkei 225 in Japan was down as much as 1.3% last I checked. So that's likely going to have a bearing on Indian equities too. But let's look at the news from back home now. Rating agency S&P has reaffirmed India's sovereign rating with a stable outlook, according to Economic Affairs Secretary Atanu Chakraborty. In a tweet, he quoted the rating agency as saying that India's economy continues to achieve impressive long-term growth rates despite a recent deceleration. This comes weeks after another global agency, Moody's Investors Service, lowered India's rating outlook to negative from stable. Goldman Sachs has cut its forecast of India's GDP growth to 5.3% for FY20, that's the current financial year, and has added that the economic slowdown has been sharper than expected. For the next financial year, though, Goldman Sachs predicts a recovery in the growth rate to 6.6%. The government is planning to review compensation cess and goods and services tax rates to boost revenues from indirect taxes, according to an official who spoke to Bloomberg Quint on condition of anonymity. In a letter to state GST officers, the central government has sought suggestions from the states to increase GST revenues. This is being done when compensation to states has increased significantly and is unlikely to be met through compensation cess collections, according to that letter. Compensation cess is levied, remember, on luxury and sin goods, and the proceeds are used to compensate states for any loss that they incur within the first 5 years of the implementation of GST. Loan sanctions under the Modi government's flagship Mudra scheme are running at a pace well below last year's as lenders keep a wary eye out for an increase in defaults. Loans worth 1.52 lakh crore have been sanctioned under the scheme and 1.46 lakh crore have been disbursed so far in this financial year as of the 29th of November. This is less than half the 3.12 lakh crore sanctioned in the last financial year. In more international news, the US House of Representatives overwhelmingly approved legislation that would impose sanctions on Chinese officials over human rights abuses against Muslim minorities, risking retaliation from Beijing. In corporate news in the US, Sundar Pichai is now CEO of both Google and its parent company Alphabet, as co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin relinquished their roles as CEO and president. Meanwhile, China is hurtling toward another record year of onshore bond defaults, testing the government's ability to keep financial markets stable as the economy slows and companies struggle to repay unprecedented levels of debt. At least 15 defaults since the start of November have pushed this year's total to 120.4 billion yuan, within touching distance of the 121.9 billion yuan annual record in 2018. With that, it's over to Darshan Mehta for the trade setup for the day in India. Good morning, Darshan. Not the best cues from overseas.
Hi, Alex. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yes, you're right. Not the best of cues coming in from overseas. The US markets managed to snap post what Donald Trump said on the China deal, and because of that, the entire Asian markets are also down in trade, whichever have opened. The SGX Nifty is also down close to 50 points at this point of time, but still there's almost 2 hours left for the markets to open, so let's see what happens there. But the cues are definitely negative. In terms of stocks to watch out for ICICI Bank. That probably will be the big stock. They held an analyst meet, and they held this analyst day after almost a decade, so lots of brokerages attended. The management focused on profitable growth, ROE focus, and partnership model. They have said that they've de-risked its corporate asset book and focus remains on growing core PPOP. The bank has increased granular income streams across businesses. They did not change the existing ROE guidance of 15% by June 2020. And what they said was that use of technology will reduce cost, and that was the key theme across all the presentations from individual heads. A lot of brokerages have raised the target price. UBS has raised the target price to 620 from 570. Nomura has raised it to 645 from the earlier 610. And Morgan Stanley believes that ICICI Bank can become a compounding machine and maintain the target at 775, which is pretty much the highest target among the peers. HDFC AMC promoter Standard Life has proposed to sell 47.5 lakh shares in the company. That is close to 2.2% stake. They also have an option to sell additional 1.8% stake. The floor price is at a discount of 8% to the current closing price, and Standard Life Investments has close to 29.9% stake in the company. Bajaj Finance says that the company's current exposure to Karvy stockbroking is approximately 312 crores. The exposure was against pledge of listed shares. The exposure is 0.23% of the overall AUM and around 4.3% of its total exposure in the loan against share portfolio. They have filed an appeal with SAT regarding action to be taken by NSDL for release of pledge created by Karvy. Mindtree also had an analyst meet. The company has retained the entire client base following the L&T takeover. Attrition at senior level leadership has been managed through external hires and internal promotions. The growth drivers include large deals, improvement in client mining, and rationalization of tail accounts. Growth outlook over the next few quarters also depends on external environment, and the management says that the margin improvement is the focus area at this point. Eris Life has acquired trademark Zomelis from Novartis for Indian pharma market for $13 million. Equitas Small Finance Bank has hiked the interest rates up to 8.25% on fixed deposit with effect from December 2nd. In terms of bulk deal, India Opportunity Growth Fund has acquired 4 lakh shares in CEAT. Society General was the seller. Serum Institute of India sold in 0.5% stake in Escorts. And yesterday in the big block deal in CG Consumer where the promoters sold, Society General, SBI Mutual Funds and Amandi Funds have been buyers. The big IPO that is there today is CSB Bank, which will list today. The base price is 195 per share and the issue was subscribed 87 times. Couple of brokerages in focus. Macquarie says Ultratech Cement, ACC and Shree Cements are preferred stocks in the cement play. CLSA has cut Lupin's target to 640 from the earlier 650. They've cut the EPS factoring in lower US revenues due to slow ramp up of Solosec and weak launch pipeline for generics. But there's much more you need to know before trade actually starts. For that, log on to our website bloombergquint.com and click on the All You Need to Know tab and you'll be prepared for morning trade.
Thanks, Darshan. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you could listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Pesa Vesa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma. Or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.